getting someone to understand that no matter how many places there are, you have to keep applying the same rules. But it seems like even then, we could possibly explain that.
Yeah. Look, in one sense, of course, you're perfectly right that we do seem to manage to explain meaning by just a finite number, through just a finite number of examples. But the trouble here is coming when you say, but what's going on when you say now just carry on in the same way? If you remember the add one example, yeah. I mean, which doesn't have this kind of breakdown. You see what I mean? Well, maybe it does have this kind of breakdown. But the thing is, that kind of breakdown there clearly doesn't help, because when you give us finite number of examples and then you say just keep doing the same thing, and then the deviant insists. I mean, this is what eccentrics always say. I'm just doing the same thing. I don't understand why other people act so weird. Yeah. I say, look, I am doing the same thing. I'm doing just what you showed me in these initial examples.
But it seems like the worry there was that, and the deviant can always say, like the worry that the case in which they're acting deviantly is the case that we haven't previously shown, and that's the sense in which they can still be.
That's right.
They still claim to be right.
That's right.
Previously shown in that example, there could be that.
That's right.
So it seems like we can in a finite amount of time show someone how to add numbers 0 to 9. So that's finite.
That's right. It's just 0 to 9. That's right.
If we can explain them carrying over rule, then we've just shown the finite number of rules that allow them to generate all additions.
You've given a finite number of examples, yeah. But it's when you say, and there's a strategy for generalizing those examples to the new cases. That's where there's nothing that makes you go one way rather than the other. Because when you explain what the strategy is for generalizing to future cases, you're just using more signs, and those signs themselves have to be interpreted. And the only way of interpreting them is to look to see what someone does in particular cases. This is really basic, and we'll keep coming back to this. Yeah. One, two.
Thinking about addition, so if you make addition like plus, if you add meaning to it.
If you have meaning,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that a way to distinguish it, or is that something called that in how you can't?
I don't really understand what you did. Do this again. You said you can make addition like plus, like quas.
Yeah.
If you,
So suppose if I want to make addition like plus, I would say that if x and y are greater than 67 or 67, then their addition of those numbers equals 5.
That's right.
Like, so if I add that meaning to addition.
yes. If you said I'm going to define addition in these terms. Yeah.
Yeah. So isn't that a way? Because we need to add. It means to like add meaning to addition to make it like plus. So doesn't that show how they're different?
Well, okay, when I set this up, I'm taking it for granted that we all know what we mean by addition, and it's not quas. Yeah? But that's really just for the sake of the example. It's like a ladder I'm now going to kick away, because let's take for hypothesis that you mean addition and I mean quas. And then look, is there anything intrinsically different between us? And what I'm saying is, take those systematic rules that the last question was talking about what you do if you add one, right? You get that going through your head. I get that going through my head too. Yeah? And what we say about all particular cases we've had so far, that's just the same. So what's destabilizing here is when it comes to that you meant addition. Because there's nothing different between you meaning addition and you meaning quaddition. It actually turns out to be just the same thing when you look at the hard facts about what your mental states were. That's the argument. So you start out with these two different hypotheses, and then you realise there's actually no difference between them. They're assuming just the same things. Last one.
I don't know if it's actually a problem with Wittgenstein, but I just realized this. If we're trying to define this one, instead of having a teacher and a pupil, why don't we define the function in an objective manner, like creating a Turing machine, so that the student actually sees what the machine goes through and adds plus 1.
Right.
And that way, for any x, for any number we give the student can check if they're doing it right by looking at this machine. So that it's no longer a matter of binary versus reminder, how we're interpreting something as a fact that is coincidence, but it's actually out there in the world as like an objective fact.
Okay, I agree it's a really good idea to think about machines in this context. Maybe train, even a machine that can learn, you can think about how you train it. The thing is, it depends exactly what machine you have in mind. Can it handle 27 digits? Can it handle 1,000,000 digits? Can it handle a Google of digits? Yeah. Any machine that has its limitations. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about an actual Turing machine, like zeros on
I don't know what an actual, you mean an actual, you mean a physical thing that is realizing a Turing machine. You mean an actual concrete object. Yeah, right.
Then like for a simple thing like plus 1 might take like 50 years to compute, like those do it.
Yeah. We'll actually come on to this kind of thing in just a second. Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, not to evade it. The thing is, suppose you took a sum that it would take from now until the heat death of the universe to compute, right? The machine. What answer does the machine give to that? Is it? Well, two questions. Is there a right answer? Well, sure, there's a right answer, but it can't be that what makes it the right answer is that's what the machine would do, because the machine wouldn't do it. The machine would have evaporated along with everything else. You'll have an opportunity to come back to this. Yeah, it has more mileage. Yeah. Okay, but you see that this is a difficult conclusion to live with. I mean, I've been saying maybe the stuff we've been talking about reference is just a mistake. I mean, if this is right, then the whole class has been based on an even more profound mistake, namely, there's no such thing as meaning in the first place for us to study. Yes? But that is, yes, that is a bombshell. Okay, well, there's an answer Kripke explores at some length that is actually connected to this thing about machines. He says, couldn't you appeal, suppose we accept that what's different between you and me when you mean addition and I mean quaddition, there's no difference in which answers you actually did give in any past case, and there's no difference in what you had running through your head. But nonetheless, your dispositions were different. Even back then, before I ever dreamt of adding numbers as big as 57, if you had asked me what 57 plus 68 is, I would have said 125. That was always true of me. So even although I never did actually get up to those big numbers, it was always true of me that had you asked me, I would have given them the addition rather than the quaddition reply. I mean, that's true of all of us, right? We have endlessly many tendencies to act in lots of different ways. So if you just take, it's clear what I mean by disposition, just some of the threats and promises, some of the possibilities that we all have. If you do this to me, I'll give you that as my reaction. So for lots of, I mean, just to take, I mean, you don't really see my full range of possibilities when you just think about addition sums, but they're among the potentialities that you and I have, right, to answer lots and lots of addition sums. So far, and indeed through your life, you only ever get to answer to deal with finitely many addition sums. But your potentialities, your dispositions to act have always been there, and that gives you a way of expanding. They talk about what might be fixing meaning beyond just what answers you actually did give and what general formulae you had running through your mind. Oops. So you can say, look, there's all these dispositions. What's 1 plus 1? What's 68 plus 57? Right now, you all along, have had all these dispositions. And you might say my dispositions are different to those of a quadder. Yeah, that's what makes me someone using plus sign to mean add rather than to mean quad. But the trouble with this is that when you look at what your potentialities are, what you will do to answer, what answers you really would give, I mean, after all, you might have blind spots with some particular numbers. It might be that there are some numbers such that if you were to try to add them, your brain actually has a weak spot there, and that trying to add those particular numbers, you have an epileptic fit. Right? I mean, that could happen. It could be that we have to add, some numbers might be so big that we have to add more stuff to your brain before you can cope with them. Yeah? So that's perfectly consistent intuitively with you meaning plus rather than plus. So if we take you right now and we say, what answer would you give if we asked you 4 plus 2? Well, you know, your friends gather around and they say, well, that's a safe bet, you can manage that, 6. Nope, not a problem. Let's do something bigger, 68 plus 57. That wouldn't be a problem. But let's suppose we asked, what's 37,829,458 plus 4738291? Well, you may, with all due respect, you just might not make it. Your brain just might blow up on you at that point. The thing is, that seems perfectly consistent with you knowing perfectly well what addition is. And what matters is not what answers you would give, but given your current understanding of the sign, what answers you ought to give. That's the basic problem, that given the meaning you currently assign to plus, there are right answers to these endlessly many, literally infinitely many questions about addition sums. It doesn't matter if you're not perfect, if you would in fact give the wrong answers in many particular cases, because you're not very good at big sums, because your brain gets tired, because, yeah, as people are, I got a mathematician friend, and whenever he introduces himself to people, they say, oh, I was never very good with numbers. You can be not very good with numbers, so you just give very bad answers once the questions get a little bit complex, but you still know perfectly well what add means, what plus means. So I know it's kind of obvious that I think Kripke's interpretation here, the negative point that he's making, is really consistent with the kind of picture we were talking about the last couple of times, where if you ask, what makes it the case that you and I, we could put it in Kripke's terms by saying what makes it the case that you and I both mean the same thing by successor, by add 1. Well, there are the examples you give, there are the examples I give, but the thing in the middle doesn't do any work, because if we deviate at any point, we could both have that same thing running through our heads. And our dispositions to give particular answers, I might be disposed to go off the tracks compared to you, around 100, but that might just show that I have a tendency to give the wrong answers once we get to around 100. There seems to be something about what we both mean by the sign that isn't being caught by what answers we'd be disposed to give, what we've got running through our head, or the answers we give in particular cases. But certainly the thing in the middle, that x plus 1 bit drops out as irrelevant. All we're left with is our tendency to give particular answers, particular cases. Okay? Okay, so let's just go back one more time over this thing about what the implications are of this picture for what you say about truth and reference. The intuitive picture we've been working with is that the meaning of a word is its contribution to the meanings of sentences, and the meaning of a word fixes what it is for a sentence containing it to be right or wrong. So if you take our old example, Sally is tall, you get two parts to that. Sally refers to Sally, and is tall applies to something, that thing is tall. But in these terms, Wittgenstein's challenge is, what does it come to that you know that the predicate is tall applies to something just if it's tall? And what is it to be meaning one thing rather than another by the sign is tall? What do you have to appeal to? Well, you've got a string of words running through your head, you've got an image of somebody very tall, but you can interpret either of these in endlessly many ways. Any string of words you've got running through your head, the question is still, well, what do they mean? Or if you have an image of tallness, that, like the image of the elderly person going uphill with a stick or sliding gently downhill, any kind of image you have could be interpreted in many ways. So you don't have anything running through your head that constitutes you knowing this, that is tall, applies to something just if it's tall. This is really just, how should I put it, it's a kind of really a shimmering fantasy, the idea that there's something like that in your mind. And Kripke's version of this challenge is, how do you know that in the past you used the predicate is tall in such a way that it applies to someone if that person is tall? After all, maybe you meant stall, where stall applies to someone just if it's before Monday, November the 5th, and they're tall, or is Monday, November the 5th, and they're 3 feet high, right? There's nothing in your past use that means that you mean one rather than the other of those. So if you're now confronted with someone and you're asked, are they stall? Sorry, are they tall? I mean, you would know what you're talking about if I said are they tall. But if I said are they tall, and you looked back to your previous understanding of the term, there wouldn't be anything in your previous understanding of the term that demanded that you had to give one answer rather than another. There isn't anything that makes it the case that is tall applies to something that is tall. And similarly for the term Sally refers to Sally. All that we have, the only hard facts we have, are our verdicts as to the rightness or wrongness of particular statements. We do, in fact, agree in what we say about particular cases. It's lucky we do, because it's only because we do agree in particular cases that communication, civilization is possible. But we don't agree in those verdicts because we understand the term. Our agreeing in those verdicts is what constitutes there being such a thing as a meaningful term here. So nothing to guide, nothing to keep you and me together in saying this one's tall, that one's tall, that one over there is tall. You say that, I say this one's tall, that one's tall, that one over there is tall. The image can't be what keeps us together, so the image drops out, and the string of words is tall applies to something, just if it's tall, that drops out too. On that bombshell, Kripke tries to salvage the situation, and we'll look at Kripke's positive picture on Wednesday. Okay. Thanks, great questions, thank you.